Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning, and hope you're having a great start to your day. We'll look at maybe two things this morning. I wanted to bring you an update on a new study on vitamin D, and I don't know if I'll get past it. Good morning, Wendy. Brahim, good morning to you. Nice to have you on, our dear friends. Zian, bonjour. Rosalinda, Niagara Falls, Nativity, faithful followers. Thank you. Michael, good morning from Norland. Derek, good morning. Laurie, Niagara Falls. Beth from Pembroke. And Brenda. Joss, good morning from Sturgeon. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for coming on. Another Wendy. My Wendy's, good morning. Steph, how are you, my dear friend? Vera and Kishwar. I hope I said that right, Kishwar. Frida, Aline, Sue, Gary from Bolton, Yolande, bonjour Yolande. Shirley from Newfoundland, Francine. Good morning. Katharina, Leamington. Brenda from British Columbia. Wow, early. Maureen and Deb. Good morning from Detroit. Janice from Brampton. Bell Valley. Donna. Angie. Lorraine. Another from BC. Wow, early in the morning. Shelley, Manitoba. Debbie, good morning. Wanda, you guys are wonderful. Sandra, another Brenda. Good morning. Laura, Norfolk, Virginia. And Judy, and Evelyn, and Catherine from Newfoundland. Good morning, Maureen and Jean. Okay, let's get going, and then hopefully later on I'll come and say hello to the rest. Sherry and Denise and Beth. Okay, listen to this, okay? Now, this was an article that I read, and there was a study in it on vitamin D. Somebody said to me the other day, well, vitamin D, doc, you always talk about it. I know. I can't help myself. I mean, I have at least 150 studies on the importance of vitamin D. And I've been saying this for, well, you know how many years, but through this whole, worldwide pandemic, I've said, one of the things that, if you look and we got exposed, the world got exposed. Its poor metabolic health got exposed. The people, by and large, that got sick metabolically were very unwell. So we got exposed. It was almost like, we were caught, short-handed. And metabolically, when you're unwell, your immune system, not only your immune system, but you just don't have the immunity. And I've been trying to teach you for the last several years, your immune system isn't, just vitamins or whatever. Your immune system is complex. It's food primarily. And then the second thing we got exposed in, okay? 3 main things. 1, metabolically very unwell. That's our population. 88% of the population in North America is unwell metabolically. And of course, the one main factor in that metabolic health, the big factor that affects everything else, is insulin resistance, high circulating insulin. And it only happens one way, when you're eating crappy foods. But 88% of the population don't eat properly. I'm not saying they're not trying, but we've been lied to for so long, so people are just metabolically unwell. That affects them in every way. So that's number one. Number two, what have we been exposed to? We found out that our mental health isn't so good. We got tipped over the edge. You know, last week I was going to bring this out last week, but I just never got to it. And in the United States last year, they went over 100,000 people in the United States alone in 2020. Insane. Died of an overdose. I can tell you, I live in Sudbury, Ontario, Northern Ontario, and I have an honorary degree in obituariology. My wife gave it to me because I'm always looking at obituaries. But if you look at obituaries, it's not a bad thing to do, you know. Make sure you're not in there first. But you'll see, when you see young people, and I'm not saying they can't die of cancer or whatever, but I can tell you, in our hometown, it has been an epidemic. Suicide or overdosing. So metabolically, in the last 18 months, we've learned people getting sick. There was a study actually that came out yesterday that the virus only attaches itself to cells that are insulin resistant. So cells that are resisting insulin are obviously not receptive to insulin, but they're receptive to a virus. And never mind what the virus does to your T cells. All I'm saying is, metabolically, the chances of you getting sick if you are healthy and you eat well are almost nil. And that's a fact. And even if you do get it, you will recover. Okay, so that's one. Two, mental health. And you know me, I've been consistent. I've been screaming from the rooftops. We need each other. We, you know, like seniors. Yeah, I feel sorry for people that just, you know, they couldn't get together. I've met many a family. They haven't been together for 18 months. What? I'm telling you. You know, for the greater good. I'm not sure about that. But anyways, and the third thing, and I've done seminars. I've, you know, on Zoom. People are low in vitamin D. It's a scourge in our society. And this study, not speaking about the virus, but what we found out is that people that were hospitalized, people that got sick, had very, very low levels of vitamin D. It was consistent. It was almost 100%. You got low levels of vitamin D, you were much more susceptible to getting very ill and hospitalized. And that research came out, and you would think that would be headline news. But like I've said in Canada, like that's sort of like fake news, in Canada. Fake news. And, around the world too, I just don't want to pick on Canada, because around the world, it's been like fake news. So all I'm saying is, guys, think about what, those three things that it's been common denominators in terms of the last 18 months. And here's the study on vitamin D that's new. It came out of Pakistan, okay? And it says this, that in Pakistan, here's the headline, an ignored contributing factor and strong association with breast cancer in Pakistan. Okay, so in Pakistan, breast cancer is like an epidemic. Okay, I'm going to unpack this study for you. And the common denominator, you know what it was? Low vitamin D. Now, I've never been to Pakistan, but I think they get a lot of sun in Pakistan. I don't know about the whole area, But what happens is, if you have darker skin, you almost invariably are going to have low levels of vitamin D. And then if you're covering up and not getting enough sun, you're going to have low levels of vitamin D. So the contributing factor and strong association with breast cancer is low levels of vitamin D. Now, you know me, I when it comes to breast cancer, I've always said this. Breast cancer is like a perfect storm. Breast cancer is like a perfect storm. You have high levels of insulin. You have, number two, you have high levels of estrogen compared to progesterone. Remember that. Because somebody say, well, postmenopausal, doc, how can I have high levels of estrogen? Because you live on planet Earth. Ladies, planet Earth is not your friend when it comes to breast cancer, because there's so many exogenous, what we call exogenous estrogens, from chemicals to air fresheners to environment to you name it, plastics, blah, blah, blah. They're coming at you. They're coming at you, ladies, in breast cancer. So estrogen is elevated. Insulin is elevated. Two growth hormones. Remember what I'm saying to you all the time. There's two things that make things grow. Insulin is a growth hormone. It makes things grow. Every cell in your body has a receptor to insulin. It makes things grow. Estrogen makes things grow. And thirdly, low levels of vitamin D. Vitamin D protects you from cancer. And what the common denominator was in Pakistan is exactly that. We're learning. Vitamin D, viderma. It protects It attacks cancer. It protects you ladies from prostate cancer. Okay? It's an ignored contributing factor, a strong association with breast cancer. And, you know, it's interesting because this study went on to say that when people avoid the sun, okay, they weren't talking about supplementing with vitamin D. Excuse me if you hear some noise here, they're cutting my grass. Okay. In 75%, listen to what I'm saying, 75% of all cancers have one thing in common. They have low levels of vitamin D. Isn't that crazy? And secondly, so 75%, and the worst one of all the cancers in terms of low levels of vitamin D is breast cancer. And let me say this, men, we don't escape this, because in men, and I'm probably the only guy that's ever said this for years and years and years and years. Prostate cancer and breast cancer are identical cancers. Just, you know, obviously in different sexes. Although, you know, men can get breast cancer. You know, it's rare, but they can. But for all intents and purposes, breast cancer and prostate cancer are identical. You need insulin to be out of control. You need estrogen in men. Men after the age of 50, and this is crazy, but this is a flabbergasting statement. Men after the age of 50, most men that I tested in my office had higher levels of estrogen than their wives. And the reason for that is, I mean, not only the environment and everything else, because the one hormone that keeps estrogen down in a man is testosterone. And most men had very low T and very high E, estrogen. Low T and high E. I like that. That's a man. When testosterone is sinking like the Titanic, they're in trouble. A man's in trouble with his prostate. And then you combine that with insulin, a man's in trouble with his prostate. And then you add a lack of vitamin D. You see, vitamin D is really not a vitamin. It's a vitamin, but it's a hormone too, guys. Vitamin D is a hormone. And when you don't have enough vitamin D, I mean, a lot of bad things happen. But one thing they know for sure, when you're low in vitamin D, you create inflammation in the body. It's silent. You might not feel it. It's not, the pain inflammation. It's silent inflammation. It can be deadly, as what it does around the prostate and in the breast tissue, what inflammation does is it damages, first thing it does, it damages blood vessels. See, that's where men and their prostate, and, they can get ED, they can get lots of different issues in the prostate. They're up several times during the night. Jean Pronovost and I always laugh about it. We call it la prostate in French. You know, it's so common for men. But it needs insulin to make it grow. Ladies, breast tissue, breast tumors. You know, I always use, you know, again, I bring to you a little teaching. You might get sick of it, but I can't help myself. Repeat, repeat, repeat. What am I showing you? My ballpoint pen. And I'm pointing out the little tip of it. That's not very big, Dr. Martin. I know. You can hardly see it. But that's how long it takes cancer to grow in the body. On average, to the size of a tip of a ballpoint pen. Ladies, you ain't going to find that. A mammogram isn't going to find that. I'm not telling you not to get a mammogram. Please don't say Dr. Martin said don't get that. All I'm telling you, you know me, I'm into prevention. I want you to stop it. I want you to stop it before it starts. If you understand how tumors grow, how do cancer cells grow? They need fuel. They need sugar, insulin, numero duo, okay? They need estrogen. Estrogen's beautiful, ladies. It is. It makes you beautiful. You don't want to have no estrogen. It does. You need estrogen. It makes your skin nice. Helps with your hair. And it keeps you young. Estrogen's good for you. Problem is, when you got too much, it makes things grow, grow, grow. And then you add low levels of vitamin D. You're creating an inflammatory response. Never mind the fact that your T cells, your natural killer cells, okay, of your immune system, you know what puts them to sleep? Sugar. Your T cells are your Navy SEALs of your immune system. You want them. You want them to be active. You want them to be on guard all time, watching, looking for bacteria, viruses, looking for cancer cells. And they call out the troops. Do, 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 do. There's a cancer cell. Go get it. But your T cells have a little antenna. And they're Teslas. They run on a battery. They run on the sun. There's nothing that will stimulate your immune system like the sun. Viderma. And that's what they're finding out in Pakistan. Hello, why didn't you call me? I would have told you this 40 years ago. When people were saying, cover up, cover up, cover up. Johnson & Johnson. Cover up and lather up. Cover up and lather up. Yeah, you know, sun is going to... And you know what? I heard a Hollywood star the other day saying, well, you know, I never go in the sun because I want to stay young. Ooh. Why don't those people call me? I'll give them another side of it. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, because they were talking about weight loss, okay? But I just said, do you want to hear the other side of it? You're never a prophet in your hometown. You know, people think I'm crazy. Yeah, I probably am a little bit. But, you know, do you want to hear the other side of it? Like, and when it comes to the immune system, do you want to hear the other side of it? When it comes to Viderma, the sun, do you want to hear the other side of it? Now, I didn't say go burn like a lobster in the sun. I didn't mean that. But I'm telling you, you need the sun. Your cells are waiting. Your T cells are waiting. They found that out in Pakistan. Now listen, if I had my way, okay, if I had my way, the booster wouldn't be a drug. The booster would be vitamin D. And I just, it'll never be the narrative, but it ought to be vitamin D. Kids, vitamin D. You live in Northern Ontario, now it's supplement time. Because the Viderma, unfortunately, you're just not going to get it. It's called climate change. Yeah, the climate's changing. It's cold. You're not out in your bathing suit. Okay? So all I'm saying is these things, your body, it's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. And all I'm trying to do is give you some tools to take care of yourself. You can't control everything in life. You can't. I could cross the street today and get hit by a bus. I don't know. I'm not in control of that. I'll try and be. I'm going to look both ways. But, no, really, you know that. But there's things you can do. Like people that think, I'm just going to live by the seat of my pants when it comes to their health. I'm going to eat anything I feel like. I'm going to do whatever I feel like. And, don't bother me with stuff. And when I need stuff, I'll just take medications when I don't feel well. That doesn't end well. And by the way, there's a fourth factor. Okay? One, when it comes to nobody asked me my opinion over in Pakistan, but I would tell them. One, they found out about vitamin D, which is good. I'm glad they did. Maybe they can prevent some, to have less breast cancer there, which is like a scourge in their society amongst women. One, vitamin D. 2, insulin. 3, estrogen. Block it. Block the extra estrogen. I put men and women on estrogen blockers. You don't want more estrogen. You got lots of estrogen. Even if it's going down, ladies, you don't need estrogen, ever. I never, ever gave a female patient estrogen. And I can understand why doctors, they do it. But in my opinion, they're poorly trained. Vitamin D. Get your insulin down. Block the estrogen. It's essential. Block estrogen. And fourthly, and this is important too. This is important, cortisol. Because what pours gasoline on the fire of inflammation is stress hormone cortisol, secreted over a period of time. It creates a cascade. It suppresses the immune system. It doesn't create inflammation, but it pours gasoline on the inflammation. And that's another thing that makes tumors grow. And it was always interesting to me. I'm a history buff, world history, okay? I love world history, but I was a history guy in my office. Give me your history. I want to know your story, man. Tell me your story. I want to know your childhood. I want to know. I had the questionnaire, asked my staff. You came into my office, the first half hour, you were out in the waiting room filling out a questionnaire. I wanted to know your history. It's important in medicine. They've forgotten that today. Tell me your story. And you'd always, whenever oftentimes I had patients come in, they already had breast cancer. They were coming in, doc, what do I do? Food-wise and supplement-wise or whatever. But when I listened to their story, there was always some trauma. Usually a major event, caring for a dying family member, or, stress in the home, or, financial or marriage, or, and it often was the straw that broke the camel's back. Viderma, vitamin D. You need it. Everyone needs it. And the more and more we understand about vitamin D, the more and more it's showing that there's no vitamin like it. There's none like it. There's no vitamin like vitamin D, Viderma. And it's inexpensive, even as a supplement. And, really, it should be given out. But anyway, they're not going to listen to me. I'm sorry. They won't. But I'm still going to preach it. Okay. Now, Thursday, I made a mistake because I'm up to no good on Thursday. No, of course, I'm I'm going to walk in an American Thanksgiving fundraiser. So I'm not available on Thursday. Okay, so we're not going to have a show Thursday. Tomorrow I got another great study I want to bring to you. Friday will be question and answer Friday. Okay? So, what's 15% off right now? Is our book. Okay, the reset. What a time if you haven't done all your Christmas shopping. Good time to get the book. Okay. If you're not a member of the private Facebook group, please join in. We'd love to have you. Okay. So, we love you, and we mean it. Talk to you soon.